In today's episode, a slight humidity problem and impromptu case mod. Where did this person get their information from? My keyboard won't work. Playing it safe. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. A slight humidity problem and impromptu case mod. Preface: the below is a copy-paste of a comment I made on a different subreddit regarding humidity in the server rack. I was told it'd fit here too. Had something very similar happening at work once. It was on a survey ship and we were working in South America at the time, so the AC had to work at 100% power all the time to ensure that the air stayed dry. Yep, the air was dry all right. However, what nobody thought about during AC install was that ships tend to roll, so the condensation buildup didn't always drain where it was supposed to. This system had to always be on for production purposes, so there wasn't really any chances of shutting everything down and dealing with the situation properly. After roughly 2 years of continuous operation, the water buildup at the bottom of the rack enclosure was so large that water was sloshing back and forth all the time. The enclosure contained 4 racks, all with computers that somehow survived. However, one of the most critical computers, of course located at the bottom of one of the racks, was starting to have a disturbing buildup of rust. It still worked, but everybody knew that it could fail at any moment, so we did what we always did: make do with as little downtime as possible. I set up a spare computer, identical in almost every way, and resynced over the contents of the old machine. Luckily, these machines don't change a lot, as the data output goes elsewhere. The plan was to swap it during a 15-minute window, called line change, we had every now and then, and have everything up and running by the time the ship had turned around ready to do the next survey line. There was just one catch: the old machine had a serial interface card of which there were no spares, which meant that I had to take the card out of the old machine and put it into the new one. Everything was planned down to every little detail. Line change came, and as soon as one of the navigators called clear, I started powering down the entire production system. While most machines were allowed to do so cleanly, the machine about to be replaced wasn't as lucky. Power cord was yanked from it, and everything was unplugged. As I had already loosened the rack screws, getting it out and onto the work desk nearby was done in less than 30 seconds after the clear signal was given. OSH*T, I said to myself, as I stood there with the serial interface card in my hand. Remember how I said that the new computer was almost identical? Well, one of the differences was that the new one didn't have a proper riser, so I had to connect the card vertically instead, for which the chassis wasn't tall enough. "Are we still okay to start the line?" the navigator asked with a nervous expression. I looked at my options, and went over in my head what resources I had available on board. "Circle once," I declared, which basically meant that I'd have 10 minutes extra. I ran out of the instrument room and down to the mechanic's shack, where they were drinking coffee, knowing they'd be down until the instrument room called and said we were back online. "I need a hacksaw," I called out. The chief didn't say anything, but looked a bit perplexed, as he knew the rough outline of what I was doing. He walked over to his toolbox and gave it to me. On my way out of the mech shack, I heard him yell, "Let me know if you need a hammer too." So back in the instrument room, I started sawing the computer chassis, while the navigator called out estimates for how much time I had left. When I had the thing Frankenstein together and started booting, there were 5 minutes left. Finished booting at 3 minutes left. I started to go over the services that had to run for the cluster to work as intended, and you know you're short on time when you hear someone starting to count down in seconds instead. I started the last service, and we waited in excitement for this light to turn green on one of the many monitors, as the countdown is below 10 seconds. "Geo," I said, as the light turned green, literally 3 seconds before start. Everybody's heart rate instantly lowered as soon as we all heard the boom that meant the airguns fired as intended. As far as I know, the AC issue was never fixed, but someone had to enter with a mop every now and then, with the glass panes looking like an OP's picture. The new computer worked for as long as I was there. Out of curiosity, I decided to look up the ship on marinetraffic.com just now. Judging by its past sailing tracks, it's still in operation. I seriously hope they fixed the issue. It's been well over 10 years since I was on board. Where did this person get their information from? This weekend I had possibly the stupidest customer I have ever encountered. So they get through to me asking how to do something on their product that they absolutely cannot do. I tell them this feature is not available on the product they have, and this is unacceptable to him. They tell me that they bought this product specifically for the thing it cannot do, and they complain that they have been misled about the product. I assume that they've been lied to by an unscrupulous salesman and advise him to get in touch with the retailer. But it turns out they weren't lied to by a salesperson at all. They saw some nonsense on YouTube and just went with that without doing any research of their own. It wasn't even a YouTube video that misinformed him, it was one of the comments on a video of someone reviewing the product. They become extremely irate with me, because this is all my fault, somehow, and start demanding that I tell them where some random commenter on YouTube got their information from. How they would expect me to know something like that is completely beyond me. They stayed on the line with me for over an hour complaining and embarrassing themselves. I can't get over how genuinely stupid this person is. It's a miracle they're even able to work a phone. It took all the restraint I could muster not to tell them to grow a fucking brain and stop annoying me. They left me a bad review. I'm sure that will teach random guy on YouTube his lesson. My keyboard won't work. This happened many years ago to a colleague who was sitting next to me. Hello, this is tech support. How may I help you? Some of the keys on my keyboard have stopped working. I accidentally dropped a load of biscuit crumbs in there. Okay, I think we can help with that. Pick up your keyboard, turn it key side down and tap the far edge gently on the top of your desk. He then winces and says, "Whoa. Not that hard." Okay, how is it now? Are the keys free? Can you type with it now? No, now the screen is blank and the computer won't work at all. Eyebrows raised, he asks, what make of computer is it? I see the color drain from his face as she replied, it's an HP laptop. He runs to me and mouths, OSH*T. P.S. I know it was a stupid thing for him to tell her to do, but he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. Playing it safe. LTLFTP. So I used to work for a company that sells tech as well as does at-home tech support and installation. One day, I was called to an apartment that supposedly had a problem with a router that was purchased just a few days ago. I'm thinking, oh no problem, it's just an old person who can't set up basic Wi-Fi/router tech. Nevertheless, I made my way to this apartment and I find myself surrounded by paper supermarket grocery bags. I'm not kidding. On every surface of the apartment was a paper grocery bag. Walls? Check. Ceiling? Check. Countertops? Check. Toilet seat? Unfortunately, check. The one customer warned me not to open the closet, as that's where the leftovers were. I'm so confused as I was also instructed that the router was in the closet. I'm thinking like, WTF, these people are just crazy, their waste is just absurd. What really can be wrong with their Wi-Fi? I nervously opened the closet to get literally rained on by grocery bags. Not even kidding, I was rained on by grocery bags and the whole closet was just filled with paper and grocery bags. It was insane. I, now frustrated, asked where the router could be. The customer told me it was in the safe and I had to find it. OMG. I was actually beside myself. I finally threw enough grocery bags to the side and I found the safe and asked for the code. He pointed at the fridge, which had a smeared expo marker that barely resembled numbers. I tried guessing and eventually threatened giving up, and they gave me the code. Finally, this has taken too long. I opened the safe to find the router is covered in tinfoil. Like what? Why? Anyways, I took it out and set it up for them. They kept complaining that I was letting it out of its cage, but I didn't care, just wanted to leave this place. Wrapped it up and could barely say my concluding thoughts and additional steps before I booked it out of there. It doesn't help that my wife is 8 months pregnant, and I had to get back to her too. I have enough stress in my life and this wild encounter didn't help. I need a drink.